Hello, this is Steve Malone with Compass FX. Hope you're doing well today and you getting some good trades. We've seen over the last 3 days the pound yen make a pretty strong move to the upside, starting from about the 127 level, making a move today all the way up to the 131 level. 400 pip move in the last 3 days. Now, part of this is due to the BOE's minutes that came out better than expected. Also, the BOJ has talked about doing more quantitative easing. So when you take the BOE's comments, the Bank of England's comments, and you take the Bank of Japan's easing policy, well, what that happens is strengthen the pound, weakness into the yen, and this is what we get. We get a strong move on the pound yen. Now, I've been asked today if I take a quick look at the pound yen and give my thoughts as to where we go from here, because with 3 days of straight movement up, pretty much, and a 400 pip gain to the upside, and the look of the TDI showing a potential rollover, where do we go from here? Now, you have to remember a couple of things. The TDI, the Traders Dynamic Index, represents sentiment in the marketplace. If the sentiment in the marketplace is seemingly to be overbought, then you're going to see sentiment start to ease back down, and we expect price to fall back down. However, if sentiment rolls over and comes back down to about a midpoint, but price doesn't come back any more than about a 23.6 retrace, then I expect to see price potentially push higher. Let me show you what I mean in a little bit closer detail. If you move down to the 15-minute chart, this is the pound yen 15-minute chart right here, we can see that price has been bouncing up and down today from about 30.65 level to about the 131 level. Now, this would suggest that we've possibly reached a high and we're due for the market to roll over, as the 1 hour chart was suggesting here. See, the 1 hour, we've gotten up high. You see how we're kind of range bound? We see this kind of rolling over. But when you look at the intraday perspective on the 15-minute, look at the TDI. Look at the market baseline back at the 50 level, and look what's going on here. The green over the red, attempting to go higher. Now, we could still get some back and forth, but what I'm getting at is that sentiment in the marketplace is back at home base, right about the 50 level, and price hasn't come off. So if price doesn't come off and retrace somewhat while the sentiment has moved back to a neutral point, then it's almost like the game starts afresh. We start from a fresh level of sentiment, and do we get positive or negative sentiment from this standpoint? If we get positive sentiment, I expect to see price move higher. Now, there's one little caveat on the longer term picture. When you go into the longer term picture and you go from the previous high down to the previous low, now this goes back, this high goes back to April the 2nd, down to the low that we had on April the 16th, you can see that we've retraced back to a 618 retracement. This is a potential 1, 2, 3, and look at all of those average price bars. There's quite a bit of bars right there, and we are way up high. Green has crossed over the blue volatility band, and there's some expectation to see this roll over and come down to meet the market baseline. However, if the market baseline continues to increase, we continue to have positive sentiment in the marketplace showing from the intraday and then into a more of a midterm situation, the 4 hour and then into the daily, there's a possibility that we continue to see this rise. There's the likelihood that this could actually pick up further and go back into this little range area right here. See how it kind of hit right up here against the range low back here? So here's this range low, more or less right in this area. You can see it right in that area. You've got this range in this area, and the market's working its way up there. And to me, this looks like a little bit of a pennant here, a bullish pennant. If I were to draw it out, you have this angle, an upward angle, a downward angle on the highs. That there looks almost like a bullish pennant with expectation of going up. Now, it might ease back down. So here's my thought. If this doesn't ease back down enough, let's put this back to the high, that's down to the low, we need to see at least a 23.6 retracement and a drop below that in order to see the market turn back to the downside. So if I look at the hourly chart and I see we got the 3 days going up, I see this turning over, and we do not get that 23.6 retrace here. Let me take it from the low up to the high here. If the market doesn't get back down here around that 130 level, but stays up in this area, there's a chance on the longer term sentiment picture that we literally go up like we've done here, come down a little bit, and then rise back up. Watch the intraday. Watch the range here. The expectation would be that if sentiment starts rising back up again here, and you can see how the volatility band is squeezing down as well. So the volatility band is coming down, squeezing together. We're right at the neutral point. If we have a continuation and strengthening in the pound dollar, continued weakness in the yen, then there's the possibility that this pushes on up. Now, where to from here? Back to the hourly chart. What you want to look at is, what did we do from the previous swing high to swing low? Well, we had a swing high. Last swing high is about right here with this last swing low at this level here, and I'll draw it across so you can see it a little bit easier here, right in that area. And we did achieve the 127.2. We achieved the 141.4, but we have yet to get up to the 1618. So my thinking is, from that swing low to this swing high, there's the chance that we see this possibly push up to 131.20 and then on up potentially to the 131.50, 131.70 area. If we have continued upward sentiment in the pound and continued weakness in the yen, and that's exactly what the BOJ wants to do. The BOJ wants to continue an easing policy for the yen, and the BOE coming out saying that they're no longer going to do asset purchase program, they're no longer going to do continued quantitative easing, then the likelihood is to see this pound yen continue to push on up. Watch for the pound dollar to continue up, and I expect the pound dollar to potentially reach up towards the 161.40 level, based upon a previous video I talked about where we see this upward movement in price. Today it reached a level I talked about in a previous video. It did reach that 60.60 level. I do expect it to possibly push on up, come up towards these highs here, which is around that 61.60 level. It could just simply reach up here to the average highs, to the average lows seen over here, which puts it right around that 61.10 to 61.20 area. And it looks like, in this case, we have negative divergence. It looks like the market's attempting to break that as the volatility band starts to widen just a little bit here. It starts to push back up. This starts to drop down. We'll see this push up. If that's the case, and if the dollar yen continues to rise on up, weakness of the yen, strength of the dollar, but the strength of the dollar is not any greater than the strength in the pound, then we see the pound yen continue to push higher. Well, folks, it's Dean Malone with Compass FX. Hope some of this information will help you as we close out this week. Y'all make it a great day. Get some good trades. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.